Protect Your Mind Episode 1. Sugar Cravings. Crack the code and conquer your cravings. Ever wonder why you're hit with uncontrollable sugar cravings, especially around 4 p.m.? Dive deep into the science behind these cravings and discover proven strategies to take control and enjoy lasting satisfaction. Welcome to Sugar Cravings. Crack the code and conquer your cravings. In this audiobook, we'll unravel the mysteries behind your sugar cravings and equip you with actionable tips to overcome them. From understanding the cravings center in your brain to discovering life-changing glucose hacks, we'll cover it all. You'll learn why breakfast is your secret weapon and how to make savvy choices that keep those cravings at bay. Focus points. Cravings are not your fault. Understand why cravings are a common challenge and uncover the factors that contribute to them. Learn how biological and psychological influences shape your food desires and why it's not just a matter of willpower. 4 PM Chocolate Cravings. Explore the science behind why you experience specific cravings at particular times, such as the notorious 4 p.m. chocolate urge. Discover the physiological and psychological reasons behind these cravings and strategies to manage them effectively. Diving into the science of cravings. Get a comprehensive look at the physiological and psychological factors driving your cravings. Learn about the complex interactions between hormones, brain functions, and environmental triggers that fuel your cravings. Glucose levels. Learn how fluctuating glucose levels impact your cravings and how to stabilize them. Understand the relationship between blood sugar spikes and crashes and practical tips for maintaining stable glucose levels to manage cravings. The cravings center in our brain. Discover how your brain processes cravings and the key brain regions involved. Explore how the reward system, prefrontal cortex, and insula contribute to craving experiences and what you can do to influence these processes. Dopamine. Understand the role of dopamine in cravings and how it affects your behavior. Learn about dopamine's influence on reward and pleasure, its impact on craving intensity, and strategies to regulate dopamine levels for better control over your cravings. Learning outcomes. Gain insights into why cravings occur and the factors that contribute to them. Understand the specific science behind cravings that hit at particular times and how to address them. Learn about the physiological and psychological mechanisms driving cravings. Discover the impact of glucose level fluctuations on cravings and how to stabilize them. Explore how different brain regions process cravings and effective ways to influence these processes. Understand the role of dopamine in craving intensity and behavior and strategies to manage it. By the end of this audiobook, you'll have a thorough understanding of the science behind cravings and practical strategies to manage and overcome them, empowering you to make healthier choices and regain control over your eating habits. Focus point 1. Cravings are not your fault. Understanding why cravings are a common challenge and what factors contribute to them. Cravings are often perceived as a personal failing or lack of willpower, but the reality is far more complex. Cravings are a natural physiological and psychological response influenced by multiple factors beyond individual control. These factors include biological mechanisms, environmental influences, and psychological states. Biological mechanisms. Cravings are deeply rooted in our biology. One key player is the brain's reward system, particularly the neurotransmitter dopamine. Dopamine is released in response to pleasurable experiences, such as eating sugary foods. According to research published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience, the dopamine system is activated not only when we consume sugar, but also in anticipation of its consumption, which can drive repeated cravings and consumption patterns. Berridge and Kringelbach, 2015. This biological response is not a flaw, but an evolutionary adaptation designed to encourage behaviors that provide energy and pleasure. Additionally, fluctuations in blood glucose levels significantly impact cravings. When blood sugar levels drop, the body signals the need for a quick energy source, often leading to cravings for high-sugar foods. Studies, including one from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, have shown that low glucose levels are linked with increased hunger and cravings for sweet foods. Benton, 2008. This physiological response is a protective mechanism to ensure that the body maintains adequate energy levels. Environmental influences. Our environment plays a crucial role in shaping our cravings. The availability and visibility of high-sugar foods can trigger cravings, as noted in research published in Appetite. This phenomenon is known as environmental cueing, where the presence of these foods in our surroundings acts as a constant reminder and temptation. Wansink, 2004. For instance, a study by Cornell University found that people are more likely to overeat when they are surrounded by visible food cues, such as candy jars on desks or fast food advertisements. Wansink and Van Ittersum, 2007. Psychological states. Psychological factors, such as stress and emotional states, also play a significant role in cravings. Stress activates the brain's reward system, leading to increased cravings for comfort foods, often high in sugar. Research in psychosomatic medicine has shown that stress can lead to elevated levels of cortisol, which in turn increases appetite and cravings for high-calorie foods. Adam and Eppel, 2007. Emotional eating is a coping mechanism that provides temporary relief from stress or emotional discomfort, reinforcing the cycle of cravings. Acknowledging cravings as a complex issue. Recognizing that cravings are not solely a matter of willpower, but a complex interplay of biological, environmental, and psychological factors can shift our approach to managing them. As renowned psychologist Walter Mischel stated, willpower is not a personality trait, but a skill that can be developed. Recommendations for managing cravings. Understand your biological rhythms. Monitor your blood sugar levels and eat balanced meals to avoid drastic fluctuations. Incorporate complex carbohydrates, proteins, and healthy fats to stabilize glucose levels and reduce cravings. Create a healthy environment. Limit exposure to high-sugar foods and make healthier alternatives readily available. This can help reduce environmental cues that trigger cravings. Manage stress. Incorporate stress-reducing practices such as mindfulness, exercise, and adequate sleep into your daily routine to mitigate the impact of stress-induced cravings. Mindful eating. Pay attention to your hunger cues and eat mindfully to avoid emotional eating. Recognize the difference between physical hunger and emotional cravings. By understanding that cravings are influenced by a combination of biological, environmental, and psychological factors, you can approach them with greater insight and develop more effective strategies for managing them. Focus point 204 PM Chocolate Cravings. Understanding why specific cravings, like 4 PM chocolate cravings, occur. Cravings for specific foods, such as chocolate around 4 p.m., are not merely a matter of personal weakness. They are influenced by a range of physiological, psychological, and behavioral factors. Understanding these factors can provide insights into why such cravings occur and how to manage them effectively. Circadian rhythms and energy levels. One significant factor contributing to cravings at specific times of day is our circadian rhythm. The body's internal clock regulates various physiological processes, including energy levels and metabolism. Research published in Frontiers in Psychology highlights that people often experience a dip in energy levels and alertness in the mid-afternoon, typically around 3 to 4 p.m., Hajnar and Bice, 2014. This period, known as the afternoon slump, is associated with decreased glucose levels and increased feelings of fatigue, which can trigger cravings for quick energy sources like chocolate. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that cortisol, a hormone that influences metabolism and appetite, also follows a circadian rhythm. Cortisol levels peak in the morning and gradually decline throughout the day, reaching their lowest point in the afternoon. This decline can lead to decreased energy and heightened cravings for sugary or high-calorie foods. Leprolt and Van Cotter, 2011. The body may instinctively seek quick energy replenishment, making chocolate an appealing choice due to its high sugar content. Psychological factors and habit formation. Psychological factors and habitual behaviors also play a role in specific cravings. The afternoon chocolate craving can become a conditioned response, particularly if one has a routine of having a snack at that time. Over time, this behavior becomes a habit, reinforced by the pleasure derived from the treat. According to research published in Behavioral Psychology, habitual behaviors can become deeply ingrained and difficult to change, even when the individual recognizes the pattern. Lally et al., 2010. Additionally, emotional states such as stress or boredom may exacerbate cravings. The afternoon slump often coincides with a drop in productivity and mental fatigue, which can lead to emotional eating as a form of comfort. Studies in appetite suggest that stress and emotional discomfort can drive people to seek solace in foods that provide immediate pleasure, such as chocolate, mocked 2008. Neurochemical influences. Neurochemical changes also contribute to specific cravings. Chocolate, in particular, contains compounds that influence mood, such as theobromine and phenylethylamine, which can have stimulating effects on the brain. Research in neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews indicates that these compounds can enhance mood and cognitive function temporarily, making chocolate a desirable choice during times of low energy or mood. Smith et al., 2004. The interplay between these neurochemical effects and the body's natural circadian rhythms creates a complex environment where cravings for specific foods like chocolate become more pronounced at certain times of day. Recommendations for managing specific cravings. Recognize and adjust for circadian rhythms. To counteract the afternoon energy dip, consider scheduling a balanced snack or a short walk around 3 p.m. to boost your energy levels and reduce cravings. Reevaluate eating habits. Break the cycle of habitual afternoon snacking by gradually replacing chocolate with healthier alternatives. Opt for snacks that combine protein and fiber to maintain steady energy levels. Address emotional and psychological factors. Identify and address the underlying causes of afternoon cravings, such as stress or boredom. Incorporate stress management techniques and engage in activities that provide emotional satisfaction without relying on food. Leverage neurochemical insights. Use knowledge of mood-enhancing foods to make healthier choices. Incorporate snacks rich in nutrients that support mood and cognitive function, such as nuts, seeds, and fruits. By understanding the specific reasons behind cravings, particularly those occurring at distinct times like 4 p.m., you can develop tailored strategies to manage and mitigate them effectively. This approach not only addresses the immediate craving, but also helps to build healthier, more sustainable eating habits. Focus point 3. Diving into the science of cravings. A comprehensive look at the physiological and psychological factors driving your cravings. Cravings are a multifaceted phenomenon influenced by a complex interplay of physiological and psychological factors. To understand the science behind cravings, it is essential to explore both the biological mechanisms and the psychological processes that drive these intense desires for specific foods. Physiological factors. 1. Neurotransmitters and hormones. Cravings are significantly influenced by neurotransmitters and hormones that regulate mood, appetite, and reward systems in the brain. One of the key neurotransmitters involved is serotonin, which affects mood and appetite. Low levels of serotonin are often associated with increased cravings for carbohydrate-rich foods, which can boost serotonin production temporarily. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that carbohydrate intake can lead to increased serotonin levels, which might explain why people crave carbs when they feel down. Benton, 2002. Another important player is ghrelin, often referred to as the hunger hormone. Ghrelin stimulates appetite and increases food intake, particularly in response to calorie deficits. Studies, such as those published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, reveal that higher ghrelin levels are associated with increased cravings and hunger. Cummings et al., 2001. Conversely, leptin, a hormone produced by fat cells, helps regulate appetite by signaling satiety. Disruptions in leptin signaling can lead to impaired appetite control and heightened cravings. Friedman, 2009. 2. Brain reward systems. The brain's reward system, particularly the mesolimbic dopamine pathway, plays a crucial role in cravings. This system is activated when we consume pleasurable substances, including foods high in sugar and fat. Research published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience demonstrates that the mesolimbic dopamine system responds strongly to rewarding stimuli, creating a sense of pleasure that reinforces the behavior and leads to repeated cravings. Wise, 2004. 3. Blood sugar levels. Fluctuations in blood glucose levels can also drive cravings. When blood sugar drops, the body signals the need for quick energy, leading to intense cravings for high-sugar foods. This response is a survival mechanism designed to ensure immediate energy availability. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition highlights that low blood glucose levels trigger increased hunger and cravings for sugary foods. Benton, 2008. Psychological factors. 1. Emotional eating. Psychological factors such as stress, anxiety, and depression can significantly influence cravings. Emotional eating is a coping mechanism where individuals use food to manage negative emotions. Studies in appetite show that stress and emotional discomfort can lead to increased consumption of high-calorie, comforting foods, often resulting in a cycle of craving and consumption, Mocked, 2008. 2. Cognitive associations and conditioning. Cravings are also shaped by cognitive associations and conditioning. The brain forms associations between specific foods and certain contexts or emotional states. For example, if you frequently eat chocolate while watching a movie, your brain may start to associate chocolate with relaxation and enjoyment. Over time, these associations become conditioned responses that trigger cravings when faced with similar contexts. Research in behavioral neuroscience explains how conditioned food cues can activate craving responses even in the absence of hunger. Cunningham et al., 2004. 3. Food environment and availability. The environment plays a role in shaping cravings through exposure and availability. The presence and accessibility of certain foods can trigger cravings by providing constant visual and sensory cues. A study published in Appetite found that people who are exposed to high-calorie foods in their environment are more likely to experience cravings and overeat. Wansink and Van Ittersum, 2007. Recommendations for managing cravings. Monitor hormonal levels. Be mindful of your body's hormonal signals, such as hunger and satiety hormones, and seek to stabilize them through balanced meals and regular eating patterns. Manage blood sugar levels. Eat meals that combine proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates to maintain stable blood glucose levels and reduce the likelihood of cravings. Address emotional eating. Develop alternative coping strategies for managing stress and emotions, such as mindfulness practices, exercise, or engaging in hobbies, to reduce reliance on food for emotional comfort. Be aware of cognitive associations. Recognize and alter conditioned food cues by creating new, healthy associations and environments that do not trigger cravings. By understanding the intricate balance of physiological and psychological factors that drive cravings, you can develop a more informed and effective approach to managing them. This comprehensive perspective allows for targeted strategies that address both the immediate and underlying causes of cravings. Focus point 4: Glucose levels. Learning how fluctuating glucose levels impact your cravings and how to stabilize them. Glucose, a primary energy source for the body, plays a crucial role in regulating hunger and cravings. Fluctuations in glucose levels can significantly impact your appetite and food choices. Understanding these effects and how to stabilize glucose levels can help manage cravings effectively. The impact of glucose fluctuations on cravings. 1. Blood sugar spikes and crashes. When you consume high sugar or refined carbohydrate foods, they cause a rapid increase in blood glucose levels. This spike is often followed by a swift drop, known as a blood sugar crash. These fluctuations can lead to increased cravings for more sugary foods as the body seeks to restore glucose levels. A study in Diabetologia found that these rapid swings in blood glucose are associated with increased hunger and cravings for high glycemic foods. Monnier et al., 2003. The body's natural response is to crave quick energy sources to address the sudden drop in glucose levels. 2. Insulin response and appetite regulation. Insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas, plays a key role in managing blood glucose levels. After eating, insulin helps transport glucose into cells for energy or storage. Frequent consumption of high-sugar foods can lead to insulin resistance, where cells become less responsive to insulin, causing higher blood glucose levels and increased appetite. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism indicates that insulin resistance is associated with an increased likelihood of obesity and higher food cravings. DiFranzo, 2009. This resistance can exacerbate cravings by creating a cycle of elevated blood sugar and subsequent crashes. 3. Glycemic index and satiety. The glycemic index, GI, of foods measures how quickly they raise blood glucose levels. Foods with a high GI, such as sugary snacks, cause rapid spikes in glucose, while low GI foods result in slower, more gradual increases. Consuming high GI foods can lead to increased cravings due to the rapid rise and fall in glucose levels. Conversely, low GI foods provide more sustained energy and can help manage appetite. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition highlights that low GI diets are associated with reduced hunger and cravings compared to high GI diets. Brandmiller et al., 2003. Strategies for stabilizing glucose levels. 1. Incorporate balanced meals. Eating balanced meals that include a combination of proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates can help stabilize blood glucose levels. For example, a meal that combines whole grains, lean protein, and vegetables can provide sustained energy and prevent the rapid spikes and crashes associated with high-sugar foods. 2. Choose low GI foods. Opt for foods with a low glycemic index to maintain steady glucose levels. Examples include whole grains, legumes, non-starchy vegetables, and fruits with low GI scores. By focusing on low GI foods, you can help reduce cravings and improve overall appetite control. 3. Regular eating patterns. Maintaining regular eating patterns with smaller, frequent meals can help keep blood glucose levels stable throughout the day. Skipping meals or prolonged periods without eating can lead to significant glucose fluctuations and increased cravings. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating small, frequent meals is associated with better glycemic control and reduced hunger. Venn and Green, 2007. For monitor and adjust. Consider monitoring your blood glucose levels, especially if you have specific health conditions or concerns related to glucose regulation. Using a glucose monitor or consulting with a healthcare professional can provide personalized insights and help you adjust your diet and lifestyle to better manage cravings. Recommendations for stabilizing glucose levels. Balance your meals. Include a mix of proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates in your meals to maintain steady glucose levels and reduce cravings. Opt for low GI foods. Choose foods with a low glycemic index to avoid rapid spikes and crashes in blood glucose levels. Adopt regular eating habits. Eat smaller, balanced meals regularly to keep blood glucose levels stable and prevent hunger-driven cravings. Monitor your glucose. Track your glucose levels if necessary and consult with healthcare professionals to tailor your dietary choices to your individual needs. By understanding how glucose levels impact cravings and implementing strategies to stabilize them, you can more effectively manage your appetite and reduce the frequency and intensity of cravings. Focus point 5. The cravings center in our brain. Discovering how your brain processes cravings and what you can do to influence this. The brain plays a pivotal role in processing and managing cravings, involving a complex network of regions and neurotransmitters. Understanding these mechanisms can provide insights into how cravings are generated and how they can be influenced. The brain regions involved in cravings. 1. The reward system. Central to cravings is the brain's reward system, particularly the mesolimbic dopamine pathway. This system includes structures such as the nucleus accumbens and the ventral tegmental area, VTA. When you consume a pleasurable substance, such as a high-sugar food, dopamine is released in these areas, creating a sensation of pleasure and reinforcing the behavior. Research in neurons shows that this dopamine release is a key factor in the development and maintenance of cravings. Koob and Lumol, 2008. The brain essentially learns to associate certain stimuli with reward, making cravings more likely when those stimuli are encountered again. 2. The prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive functions such as decision-making and self-control, also plays a role in managing cravings. This region helps evaluate the long-term consequences of immediate desires and can exert inhibitory control over impulsive behaviors. However, when the reward system is overly activated, it can overwhelm the prefrontal cortex, leading to difficulties in resisting cravings. Studies in Nature Review's Neuroscience illustrate how increased activity in the prefrontal cortex is associated with better control over cravings and food intake. Hetherton and Wagner, 2011. 3. The insula. The insula is another brain region involved in processing cravings. It integrates sensory information related to the craving and bodily states, such as hunger and satiety. Research published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience indicates that the insula is activated in response to food cues and plays a role in the conscious experience of cravings. Small et al., 2003. This activation can influence how intensely cravings are felt and how difficult they are to resist. Neurochemical influences on cravings. 1. Dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter critical for reward and pleasure. Elevated dopamine levels can enhance the sensation of reward from consuming high-sugar or high-fat foods, making these foods more appealing. A study in the Journal of Neuroscience found that the release of dopamine in response to food cues can increase the likelihood of craving and consuming those foods. Berridge and Robinson, 2003. This neurochemical influence helps explain why certain foods can become intensely desirable. 2. Opioids. Endogenous opioids, such as endorphins, are another group of neurochemicals involved in cravings. These substances are associated with pleasure and pain relief. Research in behavioral neuroscience has shown that opioid receptors in the brain are activated by pleasurable stimuli, including food, which can enhance cravings and reinforce consumption patterns. Kelly and Berridge, 2002. Influencing cravings through brain mechanisms. 1. Mindfulness and cognitive control. Practices such as mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help regulate cravings by enhancing self-awareness and control. Mindfulness techniques can increase awareness of cravings and reduce their intensity by shifting focus away from the immediate desire. Studies in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine have demonstrated that mindfulness can lead to reduced craving responses and healthier eating behaviors. Kabat-Zinn, 1990. 2. Environmental modifications. Modifying the environment to reduce exposure to food cues can help manage cravings. By removing visual and sensory reminders of high-calorie foods, you can decrease the activation of the reward system and insula, reducing the likelihood of experiencing intense cravings. Research published in Appetite shows that reducing environmental cues associated with food can lead to lower food intake and fewer cravings. Herman and Polivy, 2008. 3. Behavioral interventions. Implementing behavioral strategies, such as setting specific eating times and practicing portion control, can also help manage cravings. By establishing routines and structures around eating, you can reduce the impact of cravings on decision-making and self-control. Studies in health psychology support the effectiveness of structured eating plans in reducing cravings and improving dietary adherence. Kabat-Zinn, 2003. Recommendations for influencing cravings. Practice mindfulness. Incorporate mindfulness techniques to increase awareness of cravings and improve self-control. Modify your environment. Reduce exposure to food cues by keeping tempting foods out of sight and avoiding places where you typically encounter cravings. Implement structured eating plans. Establish regular eating schedules and portion control to create a structured approach to managing cravings. Engage in behavioral strategies. Use behavioral interventions to strengthen self-control and reduce the impact of cravings on your eating habits. By understanding the brain mechanisms involved in cravings and implementing strategies to influence them, you can better manage your food desires and develop healthier eating habits. Focus point 6. Dopamine. Understanding the role of dopamine in cravings and how it affects your behavior. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter often associated with pleasure and reward, plays a central role in the development and intensity of cravings. By influencing various aspects of behavior and motivation, dopamine affects how we respond to rewarding stimuli, including food. The role of dopamine in cravings. 1. Reward system activation. Dopamine is a key player in the brain's reward system, which includes regions such as the nucleus accumbens and the ventral tegmental area, VTA. This system is activated in response to pleasurable stimuli, including food, and is critical for reinforcing behaviors that lead to rewards. When you consume a highly palatable food, dopamine levels increase, creating a sensation of pleasure and reinforcing the behavior. Research published in Nature Review's Neuroscience emphasizes that dopamine release in response to food is integral to the formation of cravings and habitual eating behaviors. Wise, 2004. 2. Dopamine and hedonic hunger. Dopamine's influence extends beyond basic hunger signals to what is known as hedonic hunger, which is driven by the pleasure derived from eating rather than physical need. Studies in current opinion in behavioral sciences demonstrate that dopamine levels can increase in response to the anticipated pleasure of eating, leading to cravings even in the absence of physical hunger. Cuthbertson et al., 2010. This type of craving is often associated with high sugar and high fat foods that provide immediate pleasure. 3. Dopamine dysregulation and cravings. Chronic exposure to high-reward foods can lead to dopamine dysregulation, where the brain's reward system becomes less responsive to natural rewards and more sensitive to artificial stimuli. This dysregulation can result in intensified cravings and compulsive eating behaviors. Research in neuropsychopharmacology shows that repeated exposure to high-sugar and high-fat diets can alter dopamine receptor availability and function, contributing to the persistence of cravings and difficulty in self-regulation. Avena et al., 2008. Influencing dopamine levels to manage cravings. 1. Balanced diet. Maintaining a balanced diet that includes a variety of nutrients can help regulate dopamine levels and reduce the intensity of cravings. Foods rich in tyrosine, an amino acid precursor to dopamine, such as lean proteins, nuts, and legumes, can support healthy dopamine production. A study in the Journal of Neurochemistry indicates that dietary tyrosine can enhance dopamine synthesis and improve mood and cognitive function. Fernstrom and Fernstrom, 2007. 2. Regular physical activity. Regular exercise has been shown to influence dopamine levels positively. Physical activity stimulates dopamine release and can improve mood and reduce cravings. Research in neuropsychobiology highlights that exercise increases dopamine receptor density and availability in the brain, which can help mitigate cravings and enhance self-control. Schultz, 2002. 3. Behavioral strategies. Implementing behavioral strategies, such as mindfulness and cognitive restructuring, can also impact dopamine-related cravings. Mindfulness practices can help increase awareness of cravings and reduce their intensity by focusing attention away from immediate desires. Cognitive restructuring involves changing thought patterns related to cravings and reward expectations, which can influence dopamine-related behaviors. Studies in behavior research and therapy support the effectiveness of these strategies in managing cravings and improving dietary behaviors. Kabat-Zinn, 1990. 4. Avoiding excessive sugar and fat. Reducing the intake of high sugar and high fat foods can help prevent dopamine dysregulation and decrease cravings. By limiting exposure to these highly rewarding foods, you can help maintain a balanced dopamine system and reduce the frequency and intensity of cravings. Research in physiology and behavior shows that lowering consumption of such foods can lead to improved control over eating behaviors and reduced cravings. Mela, 2006. Recommendations for managing dopamine-driven cravings. Maintain a balanced diet. Incorporate foods rich in tyrosine and other nutrients to support healthy dopamine levels and reduce cravings. Engage in regular exercise. Exercise regularly to boost dopamine release and enhance mood, which can help manage cravings. Practice mindfulness and cognitive strategies. Use mindfulness techniques and cognitive restructuring to increase awareness of cravings and manage reward expectations. Limit high sugar and high fat foods. Reduce consumption of foods that cause significant dopamine spikes to prevent dysregulation and control cravings. By understanding the role of dopamine in cravings and adopting strategies to influence dopamine levels, you can better manage cravings and develop healthier eating habits. Conclusion. In this audiobook, we've explored the fascinating science behind cravings, delving into key areas that impact our eating behaviors and how we can manage them effectively. Here's a brief overview of what we've covered. Cravings are not your fault. We've examined how cravings are a common challenge influenced by various biological and psychological factors, including hormonal imbalances and emotional triggers. For PM Chocolate Cravings, we discuss the specific triggers of cravings at different times of the day, focusing on how lifestyle and routine can impact these cravings. The Science of Cravings, we took a deep dive into the physiological and psychological factors driving cravings, such as neurotransmitter activity and environmental influences. Glucose levels. We explored how fluctuating blood glucose levels affect cravings and provided strategies to stabilize these levels for better appetite control. The cravings center in our brain. We looked at how different brain regions, including the reward system and the prefrontal cortex, process cravings, and the role of dopamine in reinforcing them. Dopamine, finally, we discussed the critical role of dopamine in cravings, how it influences behavior, and practical ways to manage its effects through diet, exercise, and behavioral strategies. Practical recommendations. Balance your diet. Include a variety of nutrients and opt for low GI foods to maintain stable glucose levels and support healthy dopamine function. Engage in regular exercise. Boost dopamine release and mood through consistent physical activity. Practice mindfulness. Use mindfulness and cognitive strategies to manage cravings and improve self-control. Limit high sugar and high-fat foods. Reduce intake of foods that cause significant dopamine spikes to prevent cravings and improve dietary habits. Reflection. This journey into the science of cravings has highlighted the intricate relationship between our brain, hormones, and behavior. Understanding these mechanisms empowers us to make informed choices and develop healthier habits. The insights gained from this audiobook can significantly enhance your approach to managing cravings and improving overall well-being. Thank you for investing your time and interest in this exploration of cravings. Your engagement is crucial in spreading this knowledge. If you found this audiobook valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit from it. Remember, the more you listen, the better you speak, both in terms of understanding and in practice. Keep tuning in for more content that supports your journey to better health and learning.